I want to talk about resistance and not resisting. The invitation of coming into a space of allowing, accepting, softening. Non resistance, which does not mean apathy, it does not mean defeat. It means the true acceptance of what is here right now in this moment, because we can only ever create change and move forwards if we accept and allow the isness of this moment, to be with what is here, to be on 2 feet before we take the step, before we create the change. Because anytime we're in resistance, we're creating the obstacle, we're creating the barrier, we're getting in our own way. And it's very hard to step into that flow that gives us that sense of forward movement. And I want to talk about how this kind of can pertain personally, but also collectively, because there's a lot of shit going on in the world. So let's talk about resistance today. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. Speaking of resistance, there's like hurricane wind where I am. And I've been trying to record this podcast this morning, and I've had to just let go. It's finally settled down a little bit more, but I've had to really just like, okay, this is what is here right now. It's a really good experience for the topic of this episode of letting go of resistance. So in my personal life, this has been such a big theme these last couple months, but most especially these last couple weeks, where I've really found myself just noticing, where have I been resisting my reality? Because as I've been sharing a little bit, I really would like to move away from where I'm living. It really doesn't resonate for me at all anymore. And I know that I'm not growing here, and I'm not expanding, and I'm not in my full potential. And I've worked through everything. So it's not a running away from, but it's a moving towards what I know is in greater alignment with myself. And I think this is just part of life. Like, I think sometimes we think the way that society has set up life is that, like, you find a parking spot and you stay there forever. You know, you find the partner, you find the house, you get the car, you know, you have kids, you get the job, you succeed, and then you just stay, and it stays like that for the rest of your life. And then people are really shocked when things happen that change, right? Oh, we need to move house, or we want to move house, or I lost my job, or I want to leave my job, or we went through a divorce, or you know, life happens, and I think we have this idea that it should stay the same, and that's just not how life works, right? Life is a breathing organism unto itself, and different phases require different experiences, right? Different things. So there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with when things change. Sometimes it can be... it can feel ungrounding because it uproots us. But I think this attachment to sameness, this attachment to routine, which is ultimately a kind of attachment to a comfort where, you know, nothing, the feathers don't get rustled. But then there's also stagnancy in that. So, resistance. So yeah, I've really been like, when I hit another rock bottom a couple weeks ago, in a way it was kind of a relief, because on the other side of rock bottom, sometimes there is this amazing buoyancy that comes out of it. And what I felt for myself is like, I'm not handing my power over to anything anymore. I'm not even handing it over to the universe anymore. It's just like, okay, how do I want to experience what is right now? And either I can fight against it and resist it and create so much suffering for myself, or I can allow it to be what it is. I can accept it for what it is and just be in a state of softening. be in a state of being, because resistance takes a tremendous amount of effort and energy. And you know what? Sometimes we have to go through that. We have to go through the kind of pushing against, and we have to go through the kind of like, no, this is not okay, enough, no more, because we need to prepare ourselves for change. And again, I see this on a personal level and on a collective level. We have to accept what is. What is right now is a tremendous amount of chaos. What is right now is the crumbling of our world. What is right now is the same formula being played again and again and again. And some of us are falling for it, and some of us are awake to it. And it creates the same pattern: division, hatred, chaos, destruction, war, death, blame. All of the, fear, so much fear. But it's actually cultivating and creating this state of resistance, because there's always something to fight against, right? And we can get very habituated to that, because there's a part that can feel really righteous in it. When I was resisting this place, there was a part that it's like, well, I have every reason to hate this mountain. I have every reason to hate how close-minded people are here. I have every reason to hate how nothing grows and there's no innovation, and they're stuck in like 1950s, and there's no openness, and there's no spirituality, and there's no hope even, and I could find all the reasons why I would be justified to hate it, and to blame it, and to point the finger, and to be, so upset with like, God damn it, why can't people just like be open to growth and evolution? Like, why are they so stubborn, so stubborn and just staying exactly the same? And it's like, well, that's what it is here. And maybe for some, that's not the experience. Or maybe for some, that's totally okay. They're really happy with living the same life day in and day out. Or maybe some people are happy complaining that nothing changes, but the point is, it is what it is. And we can only ever change anything by just showing up differently. We can't change the external, but we can change our experience within it, and we can change who we are within that and how we want to show up. And maybe that inspires other people to make different choices and to be in a different way. So for me, letting go of the resistance was letting go of fighting against what just is right here, right now. I'm still in this house. Even though I'm making all this effort to change my life, it's not quite happening yet. And so either I can resist and suffer, or I can allow and soften and still be very clear with what my intention is. But it's like, what is going to make this experience of life okay? Am I in a point of tension, or am I in a point of relaxation? The tension doesn't help. It doesn't change anything. I have to come into a place of relaxation and softening and being and not resisting before I can then find that kind of the ability to move and adapt and respond and listen and create from that place, which, as I said in the beginning, gives that feeling of forward movement and momentum, because flow is a state of non-resistance. Flow is the state of relaxation, not tension. And it reminded me of this morning, I was sharing it with a friend, of when I did a journey, a plant medicine journey. I had a moment within it where I was like, okay, I'm done. I want to get out. I'm out. I want to get out of this. I want to come back to reality. I want to come back to my life. Like, thank you. This has been a nice journey, but I really want to come back. And I remember even taking the blindfold off, and everything was like super augmented. Like, yep, nope, not coming back to reality just yet. Like, and there was this feeling, there was that realization of like, I'm just in it. And what was such a profound teaching within that journey was that it, for me, and I know that every experience and every journey can be different, but in my journey, it was like a slide comes in, a scene of a film, And there's something that you need to look at, or there's something that you need to have an experience within this slide, right? Like here's consciousness having this experience. And it was a very therapeutic journey for me. So there were things that came up that were from my past, from my childhood, just whatever, from my experience of life. And then there was also some very bizarre and abstract things. But any time that I felt fear within it was when I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to have this experience. I want to get out. And then the discomfort came in and the fear came in. And every single time it would just stay and stay and stay until I was like, oh, okay, I'm holding on. I'm resisting. I need to let it go. I had even one moment where I could feel the fear pretty acutely. And then it was like, there was a moment where it was like, let love in. Let love in. And then I felt just the full, beautiful, unconditional, like just wrapped in love. And I felt my inner child. And I even remember hugging and holding myself and kissing myself on the shoulder and just feeling so much love for myself. And then I started singing, and it was like the sound was just incredible. And it was so, I went from like such a contracted state of resisting and being like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I want to get out. I want to get back to my life. And there was wisdom in that. It was like, I chose to be human. I chose to have this experience. I chose to be me. And then the moment that I let go of any resistance, it's like, poof, it opened up and like really opened up. And so I think of that even just in my life right now, of like, okay, what if I just let go of the resistance? Like, what gets to open up in that state of softening and not fighting against? And normally what opens up is just even beyond what our imagination or our mind can think of. And it can take us into this really, not that that's the expectation, but it can really bring us into this state of euphoria. And so right now I'm having this experience where it's like my physical realm isn't changing. I'm in the same house. I'm in the same place. The routine has changed a little bit, and that feels good. I feel grateful for that. But it's kind of like this is the longest Groundhog's Day that there ever was. It's the most unchanging phase I have ever been in. And yet my internal experience has definitely changed. There's definitely growth there. There's definitely some kind of mastery that's happening. And as a friend was describing it, she was like, I don't even see where you are. It's like, I already see you ahead of where you already are. So it's almost like energetically I've made the quantum leap. Energetically, I'm in the future. The physical realm is taking quite a long time to catch up. It's really dense right now. But there's something about that, because I'm in a different internal state of being, even though I'd really like my external state to reflect that, my experience is very different. There are moments where I really feel this euphoria and I feel this bliss and this joy and this excitement. And I'm like, why? I don't know why. I'm looking around. I'm like, nothing's changed. I'm still alone. I'm still here. I still spend most of my time in this house, in this living room, in this bedroom, and nothing has changed on the external, but the internal experience has really transformed. And so this is how I believe we will change the world, because it's not going to change. It's not an outside in job. It's also not going to change through resistance. You hating other people more isn't going to change anything. You resisting what is going on right now isn't going to change anything. You taking sides and still playing out the war isn't going to change anything. Righteousness isn't going to change anything. Non-resistance will change things. Allowing what is and accepting that we are in a state of self-demolition. Well, I'm not going to go into what I think is perpetuating that, but we still have a choice within it. We always have the choice to say, no, I will not hate. No, I will not be a part of creating more division. No, I will not be a part of the drama. I choose love instead. I choose peace instead. I choose harmony instead. We absolutely have the power to make a choice in any moment, in any situation. and your heartstrings will get pulled. There's an emotional toggle here going on, and you can get easily swept into things. Just like I said, you could be righteous. I could be righteous about how I hate the mountain, right? You could be righteous about how you hate that group of people, or how you think this is right and this is wrong, and this is justice and this is injustice, and is still getting stuck in that dualistic trap and is still creating resistance. And it's not going to happen from the outside in. It can only happen from the inside out. And so if you change your inner alchemy to one of allowing, of coming into that state of being of love, of acceptance, of compassion, it changes everything. Even if your external environment still looks the same, your experience within it will change. And because your experience within it will change, it will change the physical reality. It just takes a little bit longer. But when I'm working with individuals that are single, that really want to be in a partnership, or that they're still going through so much of kind of their own self-hatred and their self-loathing, and they haven't really fallen into the feeling of self-worth and being good enough and being lovable and understanding what they're worthy of and what they deserve, and they're still kind of in the suffering and in the quagmire of that and trapped within that, right? It's always in the state, it's a state of being. We can't expect the external to change until we have changed, because it's who we are and how we show up in our lives that is going to create the reality of our lives. So even if you're resisting your own pain and suffering, even if you're resisting, like, I want to feel worthy and I'm fed up with feeling like I'm still not good enough, and I'm doing all of this work and I still don't feel good enough, and I don't understand why I keep on, being attracted to or attracting, quote unquote, the same situation, the same type of guy or girl, man or woman, I should say, the same type of situation, the same suffering, because there's still something in us that is fighting against ourselves, that doesn't want that. Like, I don't want to feel this way. And you know what? It can be so justified. I don't want to live in this kind of world. I don't want to live where I live right now. There's a lot of things that I don't want, but me focusing on the not wanting of it doesn't change anything, because it's resistance. And there's something so liberating when we're like, you know what? I'm just not going to fight against myself anymore. Then all of a sudden there's energy and space to be like, oh, wow, I get to love instead the parts of me that are just feeling like they're not good enough. I get to love instead the parts of me that are scared. I get to love the parts of me instead that have been so hurt in the past and that are still playing out their wounding. And all of a sudden, I have the space and the energy and the stamina and the resilience and the presence, the focus to just love all the parts that are wanting to change. There is something really relaxing about letting go of the fight and the resistance and the inner battle, as well as the outer battle, right? There's something that is so relaxing about even not holding on or grasping towards some kind of external hope that someone or something or some power is going to make everything better for you, for us. It really comes down to us and our choices and our state of being. It sounds so kind of etheric and ephemeral, but it's very simple and so profound. The simplest things are the most profound. So you go, okay, what does that look like in practical terms, Corinne? Like, you're like, woo, way up in the clouds. I'm not, but it's like, to put it into a practical perspective. Notice, how are you resisting your present experience? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong about it. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not okay with injustice. Or I'm not okay in the job that I'm in, or I'm not okay with the house that I'm living in, or I'm not okay in the relationship that I'm in, because this, that, and the other doesn't feel right, or doesn't feel good, or doesn't feel just, or it doesn't feel in alignment, or whatever it is. It's okay to have those feelings. But if you're feeling them and simultaneously being like, I'm resisting, I don't want to feel them, I don't want this, and you're kind of caught in the anger, the frustration, the negativity around it, and you're not actually breathing into it and softening into it and allowing it, like, yeah, I'm angry right now. Yeah, I'm frustrated right now. Yes, I'm sad, I'm disappointed. I feel defeated, I feel despair, I feel rock bottom. I feel confused. I feel anxious. It's all about feeling. And I know I come back to this so often, but that's what it is. It's like we can say, I'm angry, but we're actually not feeling the anger. Once we feel it, it can move and it can transform. The resistance keeps us in a place of stagnancy. The resistance keeps us in freeze frame. Feeling allows the frame to keep unmoving. Moving through the feeling, being with it and moving through it allows us to move into the next scene of our lives. And that was my experience in my journey. It's like this slide, this scene isn't going to change until I've seen it, felt it, worked through it, and then let go, and then it can move on. So I think this is the wisdom. Stop fighting your experience. Stop fighting your feelings because you have judgment about them. There's something even really profound in the acceptance of like, wow, right now we live in a world where there's absolute chaos, where there's hatred, where there's a lot of death and a lot of suffering. And that's what is right now. And it's not that I'm being uncaring when I say this, that and what I will say. But from a higher perspective, from the perspective of consciousness itself, where there is no duality, right or wrong or good or bad, and there actually is no death. I really like the image of when we die from this life, as this person, it's like we've been in the dream and we wake up. That somehow feels really true. But what I think is a beautiful intention is how awake can we be as we walk through this dream? So that we don't sleepwalk through it, but we're present and aware, and we're like, wow, this is weird and bizarre. This is strange. This is bonkers. This is painful. This is so ugly at times. And then in that state of non-resistance of like, this is what it is, we just let go of the fighting against and wanting it to be any different. And then that's when the flow comes in, and that's when the euphoria comes in, because it's like, oh, great, you've stopped resisting. Now you're out of the duality. Now you're in the isness. And in that state of isness, my God, there is so much love. There is so much abundance. There is so much compassion. And you're not caught in the resistance of, in this 3D realm, this is part of what consciousness is playing out, is this crazy chaos, crazy hatred, crazy violence, crazy destruction, crazy control and manipulation. And you just see it of like, okay, that's that experience. And it doesn't mean that I'm apathetic towards it. It doesn't mean that I don't believe in creating positive change. But if you're not wasting your energy fighting against it, you have the energy to go towards what you want to create. And if you live in a state of being of love, of acceptance, and allowance, you will naturally create something totally different. And the ripple effect, the effect that you have by just embodying love versus fear is tremendous. That is not to be underestimated. And so like anything, if the macro feels way too abstract, it's too big, like you're going, Corinne, look at what's happening in the world. What the hell are you talking about? That is so not practical. On a practical level, bring it down to your personal life. Where are you resisting? Where are you not allowing? Where are you fighting against yourself or others in your day? The other drivers, the person at the supermarket that cut in front of you in line. Like, whatever, wherever there's the point of resistance, tension that brings about hatred, frustration, anger, violence, whatever it is, notice it. And then see, can I come back into a state of love? Is it worth going into that ego trip and being righteous? Is it worth going into the fighting against what is? And can I first come into just state of being and then make the choice of how I want to respond? Do I want to respond from a place of hatred and righteousness, or do I want to respond from a place of love and compassion? Again, whether it's towards myself, others, or the world at large. There's a part of me that's like, I don't even know if any of this makes sense. But I feel like it's important to say. We create peace by falling into a state of non-resistance. Peace is in the softening. We live in a very hard world right now, and what's needed now more than ever is love. And it comes down to choice. In the midst of chaos, choose peace. In the midst of hatred, choose love. In the midst of division, choose harmony. Be the still point in the middle of the storm. Just come into a state of being. And know that it's enough. That you don't need to do. You don't need to do anything. But you get to choose how to have this experience. You get to choose who to be. You get to choose what narrative you follow, whether it's your own inner narrative or the external narrative. You get to choose to keep playing the same patterns that keep you small. And I'm not saying that it doesn't take work to make that choice. And I'm not saying it doesn't take work to change the pattern, because sometimes we've been in these patterns for decades. And on a collective level, we've been in them for thousands of years. So change doesn't happen overnight, but it's possible. But change can only occur by accepting and allowing what is right now. We can only take the step forward by being on 2 feet now. Otherwise, you're going to be hopping and staggering and falling, right? So just the invitation is just notice, where are you resisting? And it's as simple as, can you breathe into it and just allow? If you feel tension, can you breathe into it and soften and come into a state of relaxation? I'm noticing even now, because with this crazy wind, the moment it stops, just for a moment, I can feel my whole nervous system and body go, like it relaxes. I'm like, oh my God, that feels so good. And then the wind comes in and I'm like, ugh, I feel the tension again. And it's not even conscious, it's just happening. But we're doing this on an emotional level, on a physical level, on a spiritual level. We are creating tension in our body. And so the point of doing this work and having this conversation is just to bring awareness into our state of being, because once we're aware, we can make a choice. So if we're aware that we're tense, can we relax? If we're aware that we're in resistance, can we soften? And whatever that brings up, be with it. I'm not saying spiritually bypass, transcend, ignore. No. If you know me well enough that I'm like, face the beast and look it in the eye and love it. Embrace it. The only way out is through. You've got to hold, love, embrace, accept, allow, soften before anything is going to change. That's the ticket. That's the doorway. If you try to circumvent it, it's just going to take a lot longer and it's going to be a lot more painful. So I'll leave you with that. It might feel super etheric and ephemeral and ambiguous and abstract, but it's actually just very simple. And we like to really overcomplicate things. It's like, give me all of these steps and make it really complicated. Give me all these modules and this course and, 10 weeks to do that. No, that's not my style. And if you're here long enough, you'll know that, like, yeah, if you need a different kind of structure, then I'm not the person. Because for me, it really just comes down to a state of being, and it comes down to a choice. And if it feels hard, and if it feels like you can't make that choice right now because you just can't reach that point of acceptance and surrender and allowing and love, that's okay. So you begin with where you are. Always begin with where you are. Can what you're feeling, experiencing, thinking be okay? That's the letting go of the resistance. Can it be okay? No, it's not okay. Can that be okay? That's all it is. It's doing that again and again and again and again. And somehow through that, and believe you me, in my experience right now, it's taken me years, when I just talk about my experience of where I live, it's taken me years to get to this point of having buoyancy and resiliency, and actually even having a sense of humor. Because in a way you could look at it and go, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe that I'm still here. But I am. So how can I make the experience a peaceful one? And I have to tell you, as I'm talking about this, like, there are moments where I've wanted to cry because I feel so much like joy and love in my heart. And I'm like, yeah. My spirit is going, yeah, Corinne, there, you're getting it. You're getting closer and closer and closer. And I want to just share that. And even if the words don't make sense, I'm hoping that I'm transmitting something energetically through these words that are coming through and out of my mouth. Because the feeling right now feels so beautiful. And I actually feel so grateful for it. Like, it really moves me to tears because it's such a relief to let go of the resistance. But just know and trust that if you're in the resistance, and know and trust that if it takes you another year, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's worth it. Keep on going. You're moving in the right direction. It's not that nothing is happening. So much is happening. You just can't see it yet, because sometimes hindsight is 20/20 vision. Sometimes you're climbing Mount Everest and you need to get to the peak before you can turn around and look back and go, oh, wow, I can see how far I've come. You're going to be walking in the dark. You're going to have to trust the darkness. You're going to have to trust that if you take it step by step at a time, that you are moving forwards and in the right direction. Believe me, trust me, you're doing it. You will get there, but it's not even about getting there. It's about the journey. I know that's such a cliche, but it is. It's about the journey. Even when you feel stuck, you're not stuck, because things are still moving as long as you stay awake and conscious to it. And as long as you keep on taking the invitation to be present and just stay and feel it, breathe through it, allow it to move through you, let it go, keep going. You're not alone. You're not doing it wrong. Trust me. Trust me. Or don't trust me. But I just want to impart that you will reach those moments of just ecstasy. And then it'll get fucking hard again, and that's okay too. And you'll move through that, and then you'll get to another point of euphoria. And I guess it's like, how many times, how often can we come back? Knowing that, like, the shit's going to be the shit. The chaos is going to be the chaos. All of it's going to be there. It's part of this experience. It's part of apparently what we've signed up for. Stop resisting it. Stop needing for it to be different than what it is right now. And in the allowing and accepting that it's not going to change, you're actually going to ironically change it. That's the cosmic joke. That is the cosmic joke. Know that you are loved. Know that you are okay. Know that you are safe, and that all will be well. It really will. But just stop resisting. Loving you from afar. As always, take it or leave it as feels right for you. And just wanting to give you all a big hug right now and wrapping you in love. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.